Hi, Suprabhath.
Hi, how are you?
Long time. I was just testing.
How are you, sir?
Good. Long time back. Huh? Long time.
It's been quite some time now. Yes.
Yeah. I thought I'll just test it. I told Ritika that I want to test it before, we really don't have trust on the technology sometimes. So it's good to test it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. So I'll put
Should be fine,
myself
sir.
on mute. Okay.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ritika, welcoming you all. We're just checking the settings before we can actually go live with the meeting. Good evening. Good to see you.
Good evening.
Good to see you.
Same here.
And we just thought we'll all log in a bit early so that we can check onto the settings. Good evening, Mr. Kaushik.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Hi, Sanjay.
Hello, Mr. Hi, Mr. Menon. How are you?
I'm fine.
Sanjay sir, would you like to just rename your screen as Sanjay Kaushik if you want to do that? And otherwise, it's no hassle. It's fine.
One moment. I really don't know. One
That's
moment. I'll
fine.
just put.
That's fine.
I'll write it.
Ritika ma'am, we'll just do it for Mr. Kaushik because we do not give the permission to the
Okay,
participant.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have another 7 minutes, I think.
Yes, we do, and then we'll start the discussion. We still have our students joining, so we'll just wait a couple of minutes and we'll start sharp at 4 o'clock without taking any time. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Kaushik, I hope you're comfortable with the audio.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Ritika.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it is 4 o'clock in the evening, and I think it is time that we should begin with this much awaited webinar. I, in particular, have been most excited, especially to get the best people, very senior persons from the industry for this particular webinar. So, respected panelists for the day, our guests from the industry, as many have joined and may be joining, students, parents, in case they have joined us, faculty members. On behalf of Faculty of Hotel Management, I, Ritika Singh, would like to welcome you all for this webinar. Thank you so much for taking out your valuable time and joining us on this online webinar on hotel operations post-COVID-19. I mean, I always feel that we as hoteliers and hospitality professionals, we are considered to be highly adaptable people. However, the recent situation that has occurred due to COVID-19 has definitely had a tremendous impact on all industries across. And to deal with a dip like this, we would need proper strategies and a structured approach so that we can together come out stronger. And we felt that at this point of time, our students and young professionals who may have joined the industry, they're very anxious, and they would like to understand from senior persons like we have on board today, to understand what's the way forward of this industry. You know, there's so many fears right now that everyone has, as if, things are going to be quite bad, but I don't think so. So I'm sure there are a lot of questions that our students have and which during the course of the webinar would get covered. And with that, I would like to start with the introduction with the panelists for today. And I'm extremely happy to share that Mr. Sanjay Kaushik has joined us. Mr. Sanjay Kaushik is the Senior Regional Director Operations, South Asia at Radisson Hotels Group. He started his journey with hotels in 1995 with ITC Morris Sheraton, and he has been associated with this hotel for 9 years. He was the part of the first Six Sigma Business Excellence team, after which he moved on to Intercontinental Hotels Group. His assignment with Intercontinental Hotels Group was a paradigm shift for the hotel. I personally being witness to that. His eye for detail and passion for service, the concept of quality was introduced to the organization and eventually the brand for the first time. And it's due to his understanding of Six Sigma processes that he was able to bring about some significant changes. And within no time, he became a part of the strategic group of the hotel and eventually the brand as well. His focus and ambition made him unstoppable, and he took charge of some key assignments in the capacity of resident manager, general manager, with brands like Carlson, the Intercontinental Hotels Group, and now, of course, the Radisson Group. With his consistent performance, he was handpicked as the area general manager for Intercontinental Hotels Group, where he spearheaded the operations and also groomed many team members for senior positions. And I can't thank him enough for it. Having completed 1 year as a regional director recently and promoted as a senior regional director, mind you, in this lockdown period when we are going through all of this, we would like to welcome him, and I'm sure that everyone would be really looking forward to listening to him. To share the diversity, he worked with paramilitary forces for 5 years and a professional judo player. And that, I'm sure, sir, this last line generates a lot of interest among all the students and everyone who has joined us for this webinar here. Next, I have Mr. M. Murali Menon, who is the CEO of Nimbus, a very dynamic person with a comprehensive experience of over 30 years in the field of hospitality, both in operations, projects, and renovations with a global network in development. He started his career with ITC as a management trainee and left as a vice president technical operations, project, and environment, health, and safety from that group. And that says so much about Mr. Menon. His last assignment was with Intercontinental Hotels Group, Southwest Asia, as regional director of design and engineering. Instrumental in setting up various hotel projects in Southwest Asia, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Colombo to the tune of 33 active projects, and having successfully designed, developed, and opened 5-star luxury brands in India. An expert at handling functions like project development, process planning, design, development for green projects, and conversions, all according to international brand standards. He is an expert in designing world-class systems and implementing processes that will enable organizations to consistently meet and enhance customer satisfaction. And very effective communicator with exceptional relationship management skills. He's on the board of a lot of companies and helps them take some very strategic decisions. And I'm sure he would like to share a lot about that. We also have with us Professor Suprabhath Roy Chowd, Director, Faculty of Hotel Management. Professor Suprabhath Roy Chowd spearheads the culinary and F&B service functions at the Faculty of Hotel Management at Manav Rachna. He comes with a rich experience of over 20 years with brands in India and overseas. Having grown up in a foodie city of Lucknow, feasting on the kebab, parathas, and the pulaus in its by-lanes and Bengali food cooked at home, Professor Roy Chowd moved to Mumbai in '97 to join Institute of Hotel Management, and he started his career with the Taj Group as a management trainee in food production. Prior to joining MREI, Professor Roy was the EAN at Crown Plaza, Nairobi, after completing 2 years as Director F&B at Holiday Inn, New Delhi, during which he also was designated as the regional champion for restaurants and bar of Intercontinental Hotels in India. He has been the executive chef at Lee Meridian, Gurgaon, Eros Hotel managed by Hilton, Nehru Place, and Intercontinental Nehru Place. He has been credited with conceptualizing and opening of multi-award-winning restaurants. Professor Roy Chowd has acquired a fine understanding of cuisine and F&B concepts over the years, and the same is reflected in his bold and fresh take on food and artistic modern presentation styles. When not making new strides in the world of gastronomy, he enjoys reading, traveling, and photography. I would also like to share that Mr. Abhijit Srivastav, our alumni, he passed out in 2016 batch student, currently associated with Olive Bar and Kitchen in the HR department, is also here with us. And now I think with so much experience and such learned persons who are holding such key positions, I would like to really, move on with the discussion for the day. And I would like to start with Mr. Sanjay Kaushik. Mr. Sanjay Kaushik, your journey is truly inspirational. And I heard that someone is also, doing a case study on your success. I, of course, being one of those persons, but your study on your success, because from paramilitary forces to hotels, I mean, how did this happen? We would really like you to share your journey with us.
about going to hotels since I was working in paramilitary force, but as we all work, we are looking for our destiny, like all student works and goes back to the professional life. I left the paramilitary force. I was a commando there, and then I left, and then looking for job. I got a first break, came in ITC More Sheraton, and I joined as a cashier there, where Mr. Murali Menon was a chief engineer that time.
This I
If
did
you
not
recall.
know. Okay.
Yeah, so my career started as a cashier there, and soon it started working, and I keep on saying one word, that seeing future and adaptability, learning, flowing with time. I think that worked very well for me. 9 years with them, and I was among the first batch of mindset changed, entire thing changed. 9 years as a guest service agent, as soon as Six Sigma came, the new vision, new thought process, new experiments, I was engaged in doing around 20 projects with ITC that time. Live projects on Six Sigma, on process improvement and mindset change in different hotels. So, fortunate enough to bring some substantial changes under leadership of Mr. Gautam Anand, who was a general manager at that time. And then thereafter, entire thing changed. As a mindset change, entire thing changed, and the rest was very fast track. 4 years with Intercontinental New Delhi, and then as a resident manager, opened one of the Carlson hotels in Delhi NCR.
Yes.
And then moving forward, it was all most of the time it was reverse learning, because I didn't do hotel management as education. I did my graduation from Delhi College of Arts and Commerce, one of the best colleges in India for
Yes, sir.
commerce. So I was very new in this vertical of learning business of hotel. But colleagues, peers, seniors, subordinate all taught me rightly, and it all worked, and it goes today. A lot of our management trainees who are part of this program also, they are listening to this workshop. I think these are the people who teaches more than we learn ourselves. So I think it's a journey by mutual learning, learning from watching other leaders, bringing more changes in terms of what we learn, how do we implement it as fast as possible we learn. I think that is one of the key factors on the journey. Thank you, Ritika.
Thank you, sir. Of course, I'm sure there's a lot more that we need to understand from the journey, but definitely I'm going to put those questions to you. Next, I have a question, Mr. Murali. I understand that you're basically an engineer by profession. So how did you as an engineer get into the hospitality industry instead of the conventional engineering fields like manufacturing, aviation, automobile? So what was your path like in the hospitality industry right to the present experiences?
Thank you, Ritika. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. This is a very interesting question, because I had no idea I would join the hospitality industry. After my mechanical engineering and finishing a lot of interviews and tests, etc., I was waiting for the results for Air India, ONGC, NTPC, BHEL, etc. It was sheer providence that I came to know there was an interview happening. At that time I was in Bangalore. There was an interview for engineers for hotels. It was Windsor Manor Sheraton in Bangalore. So I casually walked in to see what it was all about. Sheer intrigue. What happened changed the rest of my life, literally. I had no intention of joining, basically curiosity. I went for the interview. There was a gentleman called Mr. S.R. Krishnan, who's the Vice President and Director Technical for ITC Hotels Limited. From the word go, the interview was at a tangent, literally. It was not an ordinary interview. Everything I said, he outshouted me, and that it was all rubbish, and I didn't know anything about anything. So I waited for some time, because the patient was running out and I thought I was wasting time here. So I gave it back to him. So there was a big shouting match. At the same time, a lot of technical questions which were answered. For each answer, he would say it's all rubbish. So I literally banged the door in his face and walked out of that interview and went home and told folks that, some mad guy had asked for some questions, etc. I was shocked to get an interview call, final interview call at Delhi. Apparently, this was a psychology test, I'm told later, to see how I would handle crisis, because hospitality is the business of businesses. Anything can happen. Crisis starts from the word go, and it is your presence of mind and how you handle situations. Not to forget, hospitality deals with the highest commodity, which is created by divinity, which is the human being himself. It is not a manufacturing industry where the man behind the machine is looking after the machine, etc. Here, the man himself. So your customers are guests, and which is the highest creation in mankind. So if you can handle that, dollars are assured. In fact, it is said in hospitality, if you smile, your dollars walk in. If you don't smile, the dollars walk out, because it's a very dynamic area. The lobby is everything, right? That's
yes, it is.
The manufacturing, everything happens under one roof. Unlike a manufacturing sector where you have a factory somewhere, your showroom somewhere, and your marketing department somewhere. Here, everything is under one roof. Your presence of mind is of great importance. So how you react to crisis and how you make the best out of the worst situation decides your destiny and your revenue, right? So I was intrigued by the fact that, this is, how can an industry, when you outshout the interviewer, you get selected? But apparently the answers were correct. I showed courage and disdain. I didn't care for the job, which is why I got the job, right? Because in most of the interviews, I'm told that people are desperate to get the job, so you try to appease the interviewer, etc. But here I threw caution to the winds and I said what had to be said, which absolutely falls for the attributes of a potential candidate.
Absolutely.
Having gotten, then the task started, because there was never a dull moment. Unlike a manufacturing or an automotive industry, etc., here you look at the comfort of the guest, and you have infrastructure to take care of that. And because it's a 5-star luxury, it's a responsible luxury. You have to ensure that everything is at hand. Whether you're right, whether the guest is right or wrong, they're right. Now, this is the jargon. If the guest is right or wrong, they're right. And you have to convert an irate guest into a very pleasant one. You have to repeat them, etc. So everything in the infrastructure, right from the air conditioning services, hot water, the works, the environment should be a home away from home. So cater to the international guest. And mind you, in a 5-star setup, you're dealing with captains of industry. They are emperors, not even kings, right? So they have been the best of places in the best of locations in the world. And how do you provide such an infrastructure where absolutely zero interruption in the services can take place? So this calls for something like the Six Sigma services that has been created by ITC. The failure rate is almost zero. So you need to make sure your performance is par excellence, which is the common minimum platform. Average or above average is not enough. So that's how I got into it. And then there was a hell of a lot of learning. The good thing about hotels is, if you want to learn, provided you have the stamina and the time, the range is from cabbages to kings. You can learn anything about painting. You have to look at polishing, as mundane as that, to the high-tech information technology, the heavy engineering, which is to do with compressors, chillers, boilers, etc. It's like a city and or a ship that doesn't move. We prefer marine engineers, but here for us, once one of the land engineers got in, and we were the first of the Mohicans, so to say, to get in and adapt to what is required in the industry. So moved from there, and then this is too short a span to write because I can go on, but there has been never a dull moment. It's been a roller coaster and a pleasant one. So that is sheer intrigue we got in, and we moved fast from management training to a straight to chief engineer to general manager to vice president and to the international market.
Yeah.
There was no end to learning. So that's to answer your question.
That's true.
In a
I mean,
nutshell.
no. I mean, we would love to understand much more of. I mean, I'm sure 30 years there's much more than to this. But before I do move to Mr. Suprabhath with the same question, Suprabhath sir, you've been also with this industry for about more than 20 years now, and you've handled some very senior positions too. And now you're on this side of, the other side of the industry, quite related though. How has your journey been? From where did it all begin to this day?
Well, what I can say is that a lot of it was spontaneous. What happened? As in, I joined hotel management on a very spontaneous note because I wanted to do something more technical after doing my +2. And
Right.
engineering and medical were definitely not my forte. So I was very clear that I don't want to do engineering and medicals. So that's the reason hotel management happened. And once that started, it was very clear that I wanted to be in food and beverage. And I chose culinary because that was something that gave me that option of showing my creativity, being at my creative best. In fact, the industrial training was the time which actually made me choose culinary as my chosen forte. And believe you me, having given a choice to live it all over again, I won't make any change whatsoever.
Yes,
How
yes.
it has been so far.
That is something I think that's going to be common to Mr. Kaushik, Mr. Murali. I mean, anyone who's been through that entire journey and then has been successful would always want to relive this entire, journey again.
Of course.
Great. With that, Mr. Kaushik, I know that mostly people always feel hospitality is about smiling, being very nice to the guests, being very pleasant to the guests. But you, on the contrary, I've seen you personally also. You were the first person I felt you applied scientific principles even to a thing like hospitality. When you talked about things like Six Sigma, total quality management, those things were absolutely unheard of. So how did that really begin, and how do you think has that impacted the overall guest satisfaction levels?
Ritika, actually, hospitality, if you talk about, as a concept, is all about an art of making people comfortable, understanding their needs, be empathetic, ensure they have a great guest experience. But if you see in the last 7 to 10 years, the number of hotels increased, and number of education institute increased in terms of training people, and the type of people grown in a very fast mode, because we need to have people to fill the roles.
Yes.
I think in this fast movement, somewhere we lost the basics, and when we lose the basics, it is very important to use the scientific viewpoint to that subject.
Yes.
Total quality management, Six Sigma, all these are scientific tools to ensure that the processes are followed in a very scientific manner. So a person can have a very strong gratitude towards the guest, but if the process is not followed, the
Yes.
guest experience is not is followed in a channel, because every brand have a brand experience guideline. The same person is traveling to one brand hotel to another brand hotel, or the
Yes.
same brand, he's changing the hotels in different cities. He need consistency. I think the
Yes.
need of consistency was important factor, which actually educated as a hoteliers, and it started long time back when TQM came in Taj, and ITC adopted Six Sigma, and the whole philosophy behind that time was also to bring consistency. So I think that's a more important thing for us. Like Motorola started TQ, the Six Sigma was because there were a number of people were developing those gadgets, and the final product was not coming as a consistent one product. Same is our hospitality. If the guest is not having the similar experiences, that wow factor is not there. He feel that no, this brand is good, but in this same brand, the hotel which I experienced last one was better than this one.
Right. Right.
So I think that was a reason why the scientific tools like Six Sigma and TQM came in the hospitality. Though still it is a very, very emotional and it's an art of as a hospitality. Yeah.
Very, very well said. Mr. Murali, coming to you, when you look at the young professionals today, when they join the industry and when they want to, take over the field of hospitality, what are the common mistakes you think people make?
See, one of the most important things for passing out students, and I take a lot of lectures for some of these hotel management institutes for the passing out students, is they need to have that confidence uh, in whatever they do in hospitality, because, like I said, they're dealing with the human being itself.
Yes.
The conventional system is to look at students look at feedback from guests and improve upon it.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interesting study which has been done, which says that there is a small percentage of guests who have a bad experience. See, the other part is linear, where you have a guest report, you have a review, take a feedback, you fill up a form, etc. There are various mechanisms to understand how the guest experience was. But what happens to that unknown sector or percentage of guests who are upset? They don't fill up a form, they don't say anything, they quietly go away and never come back, and by word of mouth, they become your negative ambassador, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what the young students have to see. As soon as they come in, they're programmed because to how to tackle the guests in terms of based on feedback. But you need to have the third eye to understand and watch those guests had a bad experience, but will never tell anybody,
Mm-hmm.
go away and never come back. And it has a domino effect because they talk about it to other people and you don't even know what hit you because your potential revenue has gone. So the focus of the students should be they have to think out of the box. And the management system of a hotel or hospitality or enterprise, which is dealing with these new freshers, is help them to think out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Think out of the box in the sense that go beyond the ordinary. Because all systems which are given is there, but it is that plus. Look for that invisible section of people who can do tremendous damage in terms of not telling you what it is and never coming back.
Right.
Okay. This has been found to be at least 15 to 20% of guests because they just do not give the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And a skill example of how people, especially the fresh students who come in because they are full of theory and they are, before they get programmed by the conventional way of thinking, they need to be encouraged to think out of the box.
Right.
And this is one example of how they can deal with the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one factor. There are many other factors which happens, and the students should, go beyond what is given to them.
Right. And
an audit has to be, an audit has to be done as to get a feedback as to what is it that you've done extraordinarily, not the ordinary system which has been given to you, but beyond that.
Right. And especially more so in the current scenario, when the industry has been changing so much. And now when after this, the virus has hit and the industry is shut, Mr. Kaushik, I would like to ask you, there has been a lockdown. So how has the industry managed this lockdown in terms of keeping the employees still very positive and hopeful? And how did you effectively make use of this lockdown really?
I think this lockdown was very unannounced. Like a lot of things happens in hoteliers' life unannounced.
Always.
We are working, and all of a sudden things goes off track, and
Yes.
and we all struggle. And I think we are the most adaptable breed of industries people. And similarly, we have taken this also sportingly. This is a very important part of our understanding that when this lockdown happened, we thought it is only for a week, and we were satisfied, and we felt
Yes.
it's a 1 week paid vacation, and slowly and gradually started showing up all over the world and in India also. And that's the time we started creating a communication system with our colleagues and saying that this is not going to end up now. You have to really understand that it has to go long way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So more important part, if we say first step is the communication to your team, colleagues, telling them clear. Because most of the times, we try to be a part of the complicated world and try to guess too much around us. And we lose our key attribute of communicating rightly to our to people around us, and then that goes to our stakeholders as well as our colleagues. And we were very clear that this is a time for lives of how you and adapt and improvise your ways of working, which will be not similar what we left. And is a older a word called is AC which is called BC and AD, before the death of Christ and after the death of Christ. So I think now it would be BC and AC, before Corona
Before
and after
Corona and
Corona.
after Corona. Yes,
So
that's the joke.
I think this is very important shift of mind,
Yes.
which we have really communicated to all of them. Few things very important, safety, hygiene. I think that's flowing all over. It is become essential of our life now, and same is our colleagues. Another thing is learn more, because the new world will not open in a similar fashion. What numbers we saw in 2019 and before, it will still come back, but it will not come tomorrow. It will take a couple of months to come back. And similarly, the onboarding of the hotel staff would be also similarly in a phased manner. It will not be that, if 17th of May, the lockdown closed down, and 19 onwards, everybody on shift. It's not going to happen.
Pause.
And there are reasons, valid reasons for that, that we care for them. We don't want them to be exposed to this unknown. We don't know from where the virus will come, and we don't know who is the carrier of this virus. So similarly, we have educated them. We asked them to learn a lot of training programs going on all over, like yours. A lot of learning portals are on. I think this is a time for us to understand how do we understand the business very well. What are the areas of development in our own attributes, and work on that during this valley period, which is God given. I always feel it is it's a gift.
Yes, I
That
can certainly make that out, because to even speak to you, one has to even now see for the time slot when you are actually free. Even despite the fact that there is a lockdown, but I think you only got busier. So, and I think that's what's the case with most of the people in these strategic positions, because you have to handle the now, and you also have to make plans for not just the next few months, but maybe the years that it's going to take to recover the situation. I think there are some very, very valuable points that you've covered, and I'm hoping that all the students and all participants are also just kind of making note of these points. Mr. Menon, coming to you again, the similar question. There's so much of anxiety in the mind of a common man today, even when I talk about our students or for myself. So how do you really have taken this lockdown period, really? I mean, how has it been with you?
So, Ritika, this is a very, very important question, and there is you won't believe, there's a raging debate which is happening across the chains, the big ones, right from the 5-star to 4-star, 3-2, as to how do you deal with your internal customer? Your internal customer is nothing but your staff,
Absolutely.
right? Your external customers stop coming, okay?
Right, right.
2%, 3%, if you look across, I mean, you're looking at some quarantine business, etc. But what happens to your internal customer?
Mm-hmm.
The chains are in a huge debate as to which is the right mode. And I'm sorry to say, I'm very vocal here, that people tend to do the following. One, they say, okay, take a pay cut. They're protecting the revenues, okay? They take off 10% of their staff or top echelon, then 50% of the mid echelon, etc. Then they're talking about furloughs. Then they're talking about layoffs. I do not believe in this. This is the time that you need to keep your internal customer highly motivated. Now, this calls for extra acumen. It's easy to say, okay, the times are bad, the chips are down, the revenue is not coming in, so the firing order goes down the line. No, 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 this is not the way. A company which has a heart, after all, we are dealing with the customers, I mean, our guests who are our revenue generators, and our soldiers, which is the internal customer, are responsible to ensure that our coffers are full, the revenues keep coming in, etc. How can you even think of the words furlough, layoff, salary cuts, etc.? No. Now, here is what the cream separates from the milk. The best of industries now stand out from the conventional also ran. You won't believe, the diversity is so big. There are certain chains who have ensured, now this is so outlandish, who have ensured that their staff gets incentives, hikes in salaries. Can you believe this? People saying knock off 10%, etc. They don't want their staff, who's their soldiers, who are looking after the guests, who are the revenue generators, to be disheartened. Now, this calls for an internal insight, a design, etc. The chips are down, it's temporary. Okay, there's a phase. That doesn't mean that you are entitled to pass on the fire down the line. The guys who gave their entire half their life, almost 8 to 16 hours a day, okay, working and ensuring that your coffers are full. Okay, these are your foot soldiers. You need to now focus on them. COVID-19 has ensured that people start thinking as to what makes them powerful or weak. And I'm sorry to say there are some very big brands, etc., who are thinking conventionally, which is not the way. You need to become a want to work for company. Now, what is a want to work for company? I can give an example, which is quoted in Harvard Business Reviews. GE, Jack Welch's company, is a want to work for company. They capture the soul of the soldier, that he gives his best. They are highly motivated. So mistakes can happen, but they are forgiven and ensure that, they're not punished as such, but enlightened so that they don't make the mistake, etc. I mean, they go reach out to the internal customer, which is the staff. Here we are talking about two breeds of people in the same industry. One who suddenly, because there's no external customer, they focus on the internal customer, teach them, redeploy them, not lay off, redeploy them, and teach them new trades other than multi-skill, etc. The new terminology in the COVID-19 era is called the hygiene marshals, cleanliness, etc. Formerly it was EHS, environment, health, safety. Now that has got expanded into right. And the new jargon which is now happening, and very rightly so, is called the formulation of hygiene marshals. Their job is to ensure your internal customer, which is the staff, is absolutely in the top of health, on top of the situation. If they are healthy and motivated and with high energy levels, then they are prepared to take care of their customer as and when the doors open. The reverse is happening in the industry, unfortunately, in many areas. People are disheartened, people are scared, they wonder whether they will get a job, etc. This fear psychosis should never be in the hospitality, because we teach our staff to be warm to the customer, but we as internal employers, we do a double standards. Now, this raging debate is ongoing in several forums, and it's very interesting. What is heartening and disheartening? Heartening is there are some very, very matured chains who understand this and says, do not worry. You be creative. Now, just like a business is insured, they can also ensure, and their design template, when you recruit a staff, is such that that person, he should be taken care of, like they say when a person gets married, in goodness and in health, right? In poor health or whatever, you are partner. You get married to your internal staff such that they never leave you. They stay motivated, their kith and kin will also join, etc., etc. This is to quote GE's company. I mean, that guy is a great guy who created those want to work for company. Now just look around you. How many want to work for company is there?
Yeah, but I
Or
also,
even the layoffs.
yeah,
I mean, it's tragic. Some
yeah,
people have to wake up and say, we have a soul in our company. Otherwise, it's a double standard. We have a soul in our company. We will not let our foot soldiers go.
right.
Sorry.
So we also have some. I'm also aware of some brands and some hotels and some companies who are also doing a brilliant job. You know, in terms of taking care of the employees. They, in the
Yes.
current scenario, whatever is possible, and I think hospitality being that one sector where people have really tried to, go beyond what was possible. I think maybe at this point, Mr. Sanjay Kaushik, you would like to share some of the strategic decisions that your group, the Radisson Hotel, and you being in that position, you have taken for encouragement and welfare of your employees.
Yeah, Ritika, as Murali shared that people come first for all of us, and
Yes.
which remains constant. It is something which is unsaid truth for this industry.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, there are many folds. How do we manage this situation?
Yes.
I will not go into that debate of whether we need to cut their salaries or not.
Yes.
I think that's a very business guide like decision, which it have its own reasons for doing it. But nevertheless, how do we engage our people? And at the end of the day, we don't want them to lose their job.
Yes.
First thing.
Mhm.
Second thing, we want them to utilize this time for their mutual learning. And third thing, that we want them to be healthy and not caught in any disease and come back to the work.
Yes.
I think we have done we have used this as a critical path for the colleagues who are working with us.
Yes.
We are in constant touch with them, like a Harvard mentor program. We project of our education programs, uh, uh, listen, listen conversation. All these are the tools through which they enhance their learning. There are two phases on the subject. One is our infinite inertness, where we don't know when this industry is going to open up, what's going to happen to their careers, what will happen to their well-being, what will happen to their intensity to come back to work. I think in that sense it is
I think Mr. Kaushik is having some issues with his internet, and till the time he actually comes back with us again, I would like Mr. Suprabhath Roy Chowdhury at this point of time. Sir, you've been in this industry, you've seen how this industry has grown in all these years, and at a point of time when as we stand here together today, how do you see everyone progressing towards a brighter future? Would you like to share some thoughts on this?
Sure, Ritika. So like Mr. Kaushik said, that as an industry, probably our industry is the most adaptive industry. And if there's one thing to learn from this, is that this has given us an opportunity to learn new things. At a time when we all thought that our kitchens and our restaurants were very, very hygienic,
Yes.
this crisis has given us a lot of scope in terms of revisiting those policies and making sure that we better them. In fact,
Yes.
a few hotel chains, HACCP and ISO 22000 have been there for years now, but few hotel chains have actually gone for accreditation from hospital accreditation systems like NABH, wherein levels of hygiene and sanitation are at the extreme best possible. So
Yes.
that's just an example as to how a situation, when it comes to us, gives us an opportunity to overcome that situation in the best possible way, and also gives us an opportunity to learn new things out of it. So it's a challenge, and we definitely have to come out with it. Even from a restaurant perspective, a lot of talk has been going on about contactless dining, about how when you already have a restaurant space which is existing, how you
Yes.
actually make it better in terms of design, to make social distancing possible. Like for a new restaurant, it's a different thing altogether. But an
Absolutely.
existing restaurant,
Right.
how can you make social distance possible in an existing
Yes.
restaurant? So that's an opportunity again to brainstorm and come up with options. And you would be surprised to see how well the industry is getting prepared in terms of their post-COVID scenarios. And it's definitely going to be business as usual. And in fact, business at a better, I would say, with better processes and better streamlined activities to make sure that we are better prepared for a crisis like this.
Yes, very true. Because like sometimes I've been in touch with some of the younger lot, and they're literally worried as if the industry is coming to an end. My God, this it's all shut down. It's never going to get better, and those kind of fears. So I really want everyone to understand that this is a very, very temporary situation, and everyone is fighting this together. And there is going to be a brighter side to all of this eventually. So, Mr. Murali, would you like to just share your thoughts on how things are going to get better and the students need not worry? Anyone who's aspiring to be a hospitality professional should definitely look at the brighter side, which is going to be with us soon.
Right. Ritika, to answer that, I will answer that with another situation of the strategy that can be adopted in this post-COVID era. I have with me a small template which we designed. Will tell you how to rethink in these times. I mean, tough times. So this whole thing was unexpected. Like somebody in the 6th century, Heraclitus said, the only constant thing in life is change, and this is the mother of all changes.
Right.
A snapshot of this impact. So the students should know what is the kind of impact which has been unleashed by this COVID-19. The Indian tourism economic value risk due to COVID-19 is 10 lakh crores. Okay, direct and indirect impact of this pandemic is 10% of India's GDP. I mean, this is close to about 250 billion. I tried to calculate into dollars. My calculator ran out of it with a number of zeros. Literally. We have, the students is in for a shock. I mean, when they're passing out and they're getting into grips with what is hospitality, they're right in the path of this kind of pandemic, which is unseen in the last 100 years, right? An awakening of a new world order, right? So now this calls for a different kind of approach with highly automated production infrastructure, which will lower costs, quality, lower manpower working hours, resulting in better health and operations, such that these interruptions are taken in the stride, and people are redeployed, not laid off.
Right.
Should such a crisis hit again. Here we are talking about automation, which is inevitable. We are talking about digital room, keyless, cardless, bypassing the front office for check-in, guest room automation, where the temperature control rooms, etc., is automated. I mean, you don't have to physically put in, you can control it. And now the in thing is the artificial intelligence, AI, which uses guest database to activate guest preferences, etc.
Yes.
The human interface is reduced so that in this pandemic era, things still with whatever is available.
Right. So you feel that automation and technology is going to come in play. I think maybe Mr. Kaushik, we were just I was just asking Mr. Murali that we have a lot of young hospitality professionals, and they have this feeling, this literal fear that industry khatam hi ho gayi, everything is over, it's all done with. No, that is not the case. So I would like you to share with them that the opportunities will still flow in, but yes, they may need to be better prepared for multitasking, thinking out of the box, and other things which you may feel is right.
I think this is another turn in our life, and there's a V-shaped recovery which we can see, and there would be different skill set required to handle it, definitely, but I think we will grow faster than what we have been growing. It was like resetting a computer. When you see it's overloaded, it's resetting whatever learnings we have got so far, and it's an opportunity for us to see, let's change the gear now. And understanding, and I don't want to be political here, but understanding how the industry is going to shift from China. The 1,000 companies decided to move back to India because of this pandemic. So we see our industry to be growing faster than what we were grown in last 10 years, starting from 2020 and onwards. So I think there's a beautiful future for all of us, especially the new kids. By the time they graduate and they come back to the field, they will have more better hotels.
Yes.
much bigger business areas. I think this is a beautiful time for us to take a deep breath and see, okay, what more skill set with the new changing dynamic of business
Yes.
requirement I need to acquire,
Mm-hmm.
and this is time for you to acquire it, because business is going to grow. If you talk about Uttar Pradesh, they made a huge corridor, business corridor, defense corridor. They're coming with IT corridor. All the states are opening doors for business. So where these guys are going to stay? It's going to stay in the hotels.
Yes. Yes.
Hotels is something which will never die. It is going to grow multifold. So this is a time for you to understand, what all new things happening, be connected to the world, especially the expectations, as Murali said, technology is going to play a vital role. Completely agree. Touchless check-in experiences, touch-free F&B experiences, departure is going to definitely going to have a role to play, but we have to not forget the final thing is the human touch, emotions,
Yes, absolutely. We can
uh,
never get
feelings.
over
I
with
think
that.
that is core, which will always remain the core in the hospitality. I think we still have to be very, very clear in our mind that that is not going to go away anywhere. It's going to grow further.
And especially when we talk of a country like India, the Indian
Yeah,
hospitality, the way
yeah.
we are always known across the world,
In any
absolutely.
country, Ritika, people come to India because it's a fastest growing economies in the world. And if you see now, almost 45 days of lockdown, not even single place we found that we are weak, whether it's of supplies or infrastructure or everywhere. But
Yes,
still, the government have
that is
funds to give
commendable.
to industry. That itself shows how strong we are, grounded. So see, the hotel industry is a support industry, and it's in the economics. So if the economics is strong, we are going to be there, and we are, as soon as the foreign investment which we are planning, around 1,000 companies going to shift here from now 2020 and onwards. I think it's a beautiful future. We all should be happy and take a deep breath and say, now I'm going to roar. I think that's a beautiful time ahead for us,
That
Ritik.
sounds very positive. That sounds very positive for all of us. I do have faculty members who joined us, and also some questions they would like to ask on their own. Some the students who are forwarding the questions to them. I have Dr. Narender Suhag, who's holding a very key position with us in our faculty. Recently completed his doctorate, and of course, a very bright future ahead. So I think you have a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Ritika ma'am, and very good evening to the panelists. I, Narender Suhag, have a question specific to Mr. Kaushik. As COVID-19 is going to take a little long, and we have to move with the situation only. So, what sort of training and reskilling that you feel we can do at the institutional level for our hotel management students?
Dr. Narendra, there is a very beautiful question, and I personally feel that this is a right time for us to inject few more skill sets, and those skill set can be named as hygiene and health as one of the attribute. Another thing is multi-tasking, multi-skilling. There would be a huge requirement of people working in housekeeping, front office, and F&B service together. Maybe in the coming time, the new structure is taking birth, where less people and more productivity. So I think these few things and mindset change. I think this is a psychological subject. But in the hotels, generally, in the past 10 years, they have been following the same curriculum as it was designed in the past. I think this new attribute where adaptability to change, with a new mindset, where people say that, okay, my experience says it is not working. That's not going to work now. It says that no, yes, it is going to work because the market is changing, the expectation is changing. Earlier, guests used to feel that we goes closer to them and personalize, and it's good, not going to work now. Guests want to keep a distance. Social distancing is a very keen word, which is very well heard these days. I think that will change the dynamics.
Yes.
I think these few things, Doctor, if you can, see that if can be a part of your curriculum in a coming time, it is going to help the budding talent.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think next I do have Ms. Prachi, and I think she has a question for Mr. Murali Menon. Prachi.
Yes. Good evening, sir. Sir, I have a question. Now, once recovery starts, every hotel is starting from zero. So, any advice on how to avoid price war with the competing hotel, as everything will be in, everyone will be fighting for the same. So, any advice you would like to give?
Prachi, the first and most important thing is your internal customer. I keep telling this name, internal customer, which is your staff. If they're tight, they must be in a high level of motivation, right?
Right.
If they are disheartened and always wondering whether their job is going or coming, etc., then you have a very weak soldier, right? So you need to ensure that they are in a high state of motivation. Now, how do you do that? You're again thinking out of the box. See, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So what is it that you have? Because it's a level playing field. So the champions separate from the also ran. So here you need a very, very astute management to come out with some original ideas and pass it down to the soldiers. For example, one of the, most of the items have been already mentioned by Sanjay. A couple of more things. This is subjective, but worth looking at is, we insure businesses through insurance companies in case of a calamity, etc. We also have something called ESI, insurance for the employees, etc. Now this needs to be relooked. This is one part of the motivation, where in case of crisis, we need to ensure their continuity, that the company need not cut their salary, etc. But what can the insurance come up and say that now you need to help us ensure that there is no interruption in salaries, etc. So these kind of new look at the ESI component for the staff, etc., welfare will gain ground. This gives confidence at the time of recruitment that that person, I mean, of course, the design template should be such that you recruit the right kind of person and ensure that he's highly motivated and he doesn't have to think whether pandemic or non-pandemic, his job is safe, and he has to be the soldier, ensure that revenues come in and the maximum personalization with the guest, of course, in the new context of hygiene and being ensured, social distancing, etc. He continues to make sure that the guest is at home, most welcome, etc. And that is the USP compared to scared staff wondering whether he should look at his job or he should look at the customer who's going to come in. So this is a huge difference. So the staff should be in a high state of motivated level, and for that the mechanism has to be designed by the management company. This is the most single largest bullet point that I can think of, other than what has been mentioned already.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Menon. I also have, I think, considering the time constraints also, I think we have Ms. Nikita who has a question for Mr. Roy. Please go ahead, Nikita.
Good evening, sir. I would like to ask you one thing, sir. As and we are facing this lockdown these days, after the lockdown being lifted up, how much time it's going to need for the industry to reach back to its original glory? Or will it ever be able to reach back its glory, sir?
Well, Mr. Suprabhath, that is Nikita's just put a question for you. I think she's focusing on the glory. I'm not too sure if we can go back to the glorious days. So what do you think?
Well, Nikita, I can assure you this much, that it's not about going back to the past glory. Post-COVID, it's definitely going to be a different story and going to be a much, much brighter story than what we have seen so far. Because whenever a challenge like this comes to us, it definitely makes us better. Because as hoteliers, I believe that we perform best when we are under pressure. That's something that we've learned as hoteliers. And
Yes, true.
this is probably the worst kind of pressure that we've all seen. And this is definitely going to make us much, much better. And like Mr. Kaushik has said as well, the way the industry is moving towards India, it's only going to get better for us. There's no looking back.
Wonderful.
Can I add to that, Ritika?
Sure, please. Go
So
ahead.
just to add to this question, how soon? This how soon is again a raging debate. It is said, now it is subjective again, that it would take at least to see some kind of thawing to take place, at least we're looking at something like 6 months. Now the most important thing is domestic tourism will be the first one to emerge. Because the foreign tourism, that's going to take a little more time, and the focus will be on internal domestic tourism, and that will grow it is predicted at a very fast rate, because it will fill up the vacuum created by the foreign FIT people coming in. So, and now with the 200 plus companies, it's I don't know if it's 500, it's growing by the day, shifting to Vietnam, India, and other places, especially in India. I think this infrastructure to house these people who are going to get into an employment mode would also play a big role. So domestic tourism is the first one to crack in, and that will take at least 6 months, and it will be followed by the external tourism.
So the glory is not very far, I think. The glorious days,
Yes,
Nikita.
yeah, absolutely.
We all will have that soon. Thank you so much. And now, as we are coming a bit towards the end of the session, Mr. Kaushik, if you were to give, some, kind of, inspiration to the people who are listening, some of your important thoughts that you would like to share, because I don't think we get to meet people like you very frequently. So what is that one thing that we can carry with us that you would like to share?
Ritika, we generally have a lot of complication in our mind every time, because of so much coming through media, so many things coming from, different channels. I think this is a time to stay positive. First thing, listen to everything, but believe what you want to believe, and the best, believe in yourself. Work on your own self. I think everybody's individual. It is governed. A lot of things happens around them to make them success and failure. But at the end of the day, we are individuals. So I think this is the right time for us to work on our own self, stay positive, and find that what all things you haven't done in your life, because of working and because of pressure. Do all these things, because this time is not going to come again.
Yes, absolutely.
Few people feel that this is a time, depression time. I think this is a time for enjoy. Enjoy yourself, to make sure that you come back more fresh, both mentally and physically, and and your charm increase in yourself. I think this is a good time to cherish yourself and cherish your mindset, because the post-COVID world would be different, but not be. It will not be dark. Definitely, it's going to be much brighter. So, I think stay positive, work on yourself, and work on your mindset more than any skill set. The skill set is going to change.
That is a very, very strong bond that comes to us almost at the end of the session. Mindset and skill set later, because skill set is going to change. I will definitely keep that one, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Menon, if there's any one, like Mr. Kaushik just mentioned, any one thing that you would like to say to us, as towards the end of the session as we are, anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, let me tell you, a successful hotelier has a genetic defect. He is always positive, right? It never said die, because the positivity is inbuilt in the DNA of a successful hotelier. So it does not matter what it is. this comes and stems from daily activities that happen in the hotel. You get irate guests, etc., etc. But the way you take an irate guest and turn that into an opportunity is a indication of the positivity of the DNA of the gentleman, right? Of the staff. So by default, a successful hotelier is always positive. And this hotelier would say that this too shall pass and
Yes.
better times would come. It's
Wonderful.
ingrained in them. So
Wonderful.
we are future-proof and bulletproof as far as these positivities concerned.
Okay, future-proof and bulletproof. Thank you. And Mr. Suprabhath Roy, in case all the students are listening to you and they would love to listen to you as well, especially specializing in the culinary division, how things are going to be. Some message that you'd like to share.
Well, I would just say that there's definitely a silver lining. We've as hoteliers, we've always complained that we don't get a lot of family time.
They've given you enough.
And this is an opportunity for all of us to make sure that all the things that we speak about, how to balance your work and your family, well, this is the best opportunity because
I think so.
Home. So how we balance it is we make sure that we make sure that all our deadlines are met. We make sure that everything is being done on time, but we also enjoy the family time that we get. And
Yes.
all the students, I'm sure the kind of learnings that they've had through the online channel, they would agree that that has not taken any beating whatsoever.
Yes.
Be it the practical element of it or be it the theoretical element of it.
Absolutely.
Well, who would have thought 2 months back that we could have done kitchen demonstrations and kitchen practicals
Yes.
and confines of our home? But we managed to do
Absolutely.
that. So
Yes, yes.
that's what a challenge tells us, that when you have a challenge, you have to find a way around it. And
Yes.
that's what we
No.
did.
Very well said, sir. Very well said. And on this note, before I conclude, I think I would request, we also have with us Professor Sushil Kumar Saluja. He is the Dean for Faculty of Hotel Management. And before I can really conclude the meeting and thank everyone for being here, Mr. Saluja, I would request you to please say a few words before we end the session.
First of all, I will say namaskar, and then I would like to thank Mr. Kaushik and Mr. Menon for becoming a guest on our webinar. And I would like to thank Madam Ritika also for organizing such a beautiful show. I'm impressed by this first show, which is there from the hotel management side, faculty of hotel management side. And as everybody has said, I was listening to everything, and I would like to conclude that the future is bright. Be positive, see positive, do positive, gain your confidence, commitment, and competence for the new challenges which we are going to face in the industry after this COVID era. And I would again like to thank all the participants who have made this a particular show. There are around about 62 participants, a big success. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Ritika ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. On this note, I would also like to say that we're currently live on Facebook as well. So yes, there are a lot of other people who are, other than the people we see here, who are listening to us. We are truly lucky to have, have you on our, this webinar, Mr. Menon and Mr. Kaushik. Thank you so much. I understand that, you've taken out time from your schedules and you've, it's truly your passion to handhold people, to create leaders, to develop people that you're here. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Also on behalf of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, on behalf of the entire management of Manav Rachna, I would like to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. I'm sure that the students are more hopeful. And of course, I can still see questions coming in, but yes, I understand that there are constraints, and I will request them to write to you in case they're so keen to still connect with you. I hope that is all right.
Thank you, Ritika.
Thank you, Ritika.
Thank you so very much. Thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
the part
Thank
on
you.
this webinar. I would now request all the guests to leave, and I shall wait for everyone to leave before I can end.
Thank you, Mr. Menon, and thank you, Mr. Kaushik.
Thank you, Subrat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Saluja.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.